Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We've got another season review coming your way today, and it's the 2025 season review of the Sydney Swans. Disappointing year for the Swans, but we're going to delve into all the stats, all the numbers, all the players, everything you need to know about what happened with the Sydney Swans in season 2025. Before we jump into that, if you're new around here, this is the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We post a lot of football content. We have a couple podcasts every week, Monday and Thursday. We also do plenty of other videos, season reviews for every club as they get knocked out. This is about the ninth team that we've done. So we're working our way through. So go back, check out all of them. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of Sydney Swans season 2025. Without any further ado, let's jump into it. All the content we have for you today. Sydney Swans played 23 games, won 12, lost 11. So they did go over 50% with their win rate. The percentage slightly below 100 at 97. Finished 10th on the ladder, which is a bit disappointing after obviously winning the minor premiership and making a grand final last year. To drop out of the 8 is not ideal, but at the same time, it happens. The last 2 years, one of the two teams that have played, well, now this is 3 years in a row, one of the two teams that have played in the grand final has dropped out of the 8 the following year. So Geelong won the premiership, dropped out of the 8. The next year, Collingwood won the premiership, dropped out of the top 8 the following year. So Sydney then did it this year. It seems to be a little bit of a trend at the moment. Points for 80.2, 11th best in the competition, so not great scoring. Points against, similar story, 82.7, 11th in the competition. Surprisingly, for a team that didn't have a great season, had a few injuries, but they only had 35 players used, which is only the 16th most in the competition. So they weren't that hampered, in all honesty. 3 debutants throughout the season, which was the equal 13th most, so not a massive amount of debutants. Average age of 26.3, which is the 4th oldest team in the competition, and 118.9 games experience average, which is the 4th most in the competition. So they're one of the more senior teams. It's not all doom and gloom. Like, obviously, if you are one of the older teams, you want to be competing deep into September. But I think there's a possibility that it's not all doom and gloom. They've probably still got a couple more years before it would be heading into that sort of zone of being worried about missing finals with this age demographic. I think it's fine at the moment. They've still got plenty of good players that both youngish and seniorish, so it's not too big of a concern just yet. I don't think we will get into the bits that are of a concern for Sydney shortly once we go through the player stocks. Record against the top 9 this season, they went 4-8. Their 4 wins were Fremantle, GWS. Fremantle was second time, and then Brisbane. So 2 Fremantles, GWS and Brisbane. 4-8, not fantastic record against the top 10 or top 9 teams. It's a solid record, pretty even with a lot of teams around them, but they maybe dropped a couple against bottom 9s that they probably didn't want to. So 8-3 was their record against the bottom 9. Their 3 losses against the bottom 9 teams: Port Adelaide in round 6, Essendon in round 9, and Melbourne in round 11. So that little stretch there was a really, really rough one. They went 2-6 across 8-week period, and 3 of those losses were against teams that had no chance of making the finals this season. So from pretty early on. So not fantastic. It was a bit of a season of near misses, and their best was good enough, but unfortunately their worst came out a couple times, and that was really, really quite bad. So we'll jump into game by game. They started the season against Hawthorn at the SCG in opening round, and they lost it by 20 points, which makes it look like it was comfortable for Hawthorn. It wasn't. Halfway through it's certainly midway through the last quarter, it was neck and neck, and I can't remember who it was, but Sydney player did a bad turnover in the back 50 that gave Hawthorn a goal that I think gave him a 10-point buffer, or basically somewhere around about a 2-goal buffer, and all of a sudden it was basically game over. You don't turn that one over. Maybe you stay within a kick for another 5 minutes, and who knows what happens. But they threw that one away and got their season off to a really bad start. Round 1, they played Brisbane at the SCG. Lost by 4 points. When you lose by less than a kick, you usually have your chances to win the game. This is no exception to that. So they could have started 2-0, but instead they're 0-2. They did manage to beat Fremantle by 3 points over at Optus Stadium. Once again, it was a close one. Could have gone either way, but they did get the win. They had the bye for having opening round. Came back and played North Melbourne and got the 65 comfortable point win over the Roos, which all of a sudden got them to 2-2, and it was like, okay, here we go. Swans have got themselves going now. But the next 3 weeks, probably the next 6 or 7, 8 weeks, it really kind of fell apart a bit. Losing to Collingwood in gather round by 31 points. Then they hosted Port Adelaide and lost by 8 points in a really disappointing game. Gold Coast got them by 38 points when Sydney were leading by 4 goals, I think, in the first quarter. So a really rough patch there. They did beat GWS by 14 points. At that point, they had a pretty good record over GWS over the last couple of years. Lost to the Bombers by 8 points at Marvel Stadium. That is a bad one. Beat Carlton by 16 at the SCG, and then their 2 worst games of the year, without a doubt. Losing to Melbourne by 53 points at the MCG. They just didn't show up that day. And then even worse, the following week, at home against the Crows, losing by 90 points. Was about as low a point as the Sydney Swans could have. They then beat Richmond going into the bye. They pretty much had to win every game going from then on to play finals. If they had won every game, they would have played finals, but that's not what happened. They beat Port Adelaide coming out of the bye before losing by 9 points to the Bulldogs, the SCG. They then beat Fremantle, St Kilda, North Melbourne, got on a bit of a run, lost to GWS, beat Essendon, Brisbane by 2 points to get revenge on them for beating them earlier in the year. Lost to Geelong at the SCG by 43, and then finished with 67-point win over the West Coast Eagles. So their back half of the season was certainly better than their front half, but at the same time, only 2 of those wins in the back half of the season were against genuine competing teams. So they went 2-3 in the back half against top 9 teams. So it's still not fantastic. It's not great. It's not terrible, I mean, but it is also not fantastic. So it is what it is. It was just a season where they let it slip too much early. They were chasing the 8 ball. They had a really rough patch there in the middle part of the year where they were playing some really bad football and just left themselves too much to do. Obviously, once Errol Goulden came back into the team, they did look a lot better, but you can't just rely on one player, can you? Moving into some key stats. We're not going to go through every single category here or every single number. There's a lot there. This is just basically for, against, and the difference. Pretty simple stuff for different stats. Not a high disposal team. They're a team that is pretty solid defensively against the contested football, whereas not getting huge contested numbers either way, though. Intercept game, they're really low on. They're one of the lower ranked teams in the intercept game. Clearance-wise, not massive from centre clearances, but stoppage clearances, they are really good at plus 2.83. Accuracy, one of the worst in the competition. 15th for, and 12th in difference. So you're going to struggle to win games when you're kicking that poorly in front of goal. 44.9% accuracy is not fantastic. Their shots per inside 50, not fantastic either. Sitting 12th in the competition, and when you consider that 10th in competition for total inside 50s, just tells you that they're not getting enough shots. And when they do get shots, they don't convert them enough. So some issues, no doubt about it. We look at the scoring down the bottom. So we've got score sources. Pretty even across the board. Kick-in, stoppage, turnover. Obviously, turnover's not great. They're not great in the intercept game. So you'd expect stoppage scoring to be their main avenue there. defensive half scoring is actually really good, both offensively and defensively. Just giving up 29.7 points per game from the defensive half is the fifth best in the competition, and that was one area this year that they really shone. But centre bounce scoring, we know they weren't great out of the centre clearance. Also, scoring wasn't fantastic out of centre clearance either. So, a few issues there, a few things that just were a little bit off the pace of what they did last year. Well, quite a fair way off the pace, to be honest. Where last year they were out in front pretty much all season long. This year they weren't capable of that. And yeah, that's the Sydney Swans team stats. We'll jump into a bit of a player update and player stats. So first of all, we've got the key players that missed 5 or more games. They could have been due to injury, form, suspension, anything. But these are the players that I would have considered to probably play a lot more games than they did. So Logan McDonald and Robbie Fox both missed the whole season. Not ideal when you have two players that were part of your best 23 last year to miss every single game straight up. That's not ideal. Both obviously forward line players as well, one key position, one general forward. Taylor Adams missed 19 as an inside mid. Joel Amati, another key forward, he missed 15 games, so he didn't get much either. Aaron Francis missed 13. Obviously, he's probably not in their best team, but would have been with maybe McDonald and Amati both out for so long. Errol Goulden missed 13 after injuring himself in the preseason game. That was their biggest loss for the year. Obviously, his run and carry is probably the best in the competition. Harry Cunningham missed 12. Tom Papley missed 12, obviously another forward that missed a fair bit of football. Caden Cleary and Callum Mills both missed 11, so Mills has had a couple injury-riddled seasons. He'll be looking to have a full season next year, or at least hoping to, I would imagine. Florent missed 7. Riley Bice missed 7. Justin McInerney and Lewis Melican missed 6 each, and Matt Roberts missed 5. Players that were on their list last year that weren't this year, we're not going through them all, not the delisted ones, but the ones that went to other clubs were Constantine and Luke Parker. Both went to... Luke Parker shouldn't say Sydney, that should say North Melbourne. They both went to North Melbourne. And, I mean, Constantine couldn't get a game in their team last year. Probably would have got some games this year, but Luke Parker, we know why he went to North Melbourne, and he played really well down there. So that was... Yeah, that is what it is. Sam Reid retired, but he didn't play last year anyway. Moving into best players by position, starting at the general defence line. They have some good players here, there's no doubt about it, and they put together decent seasons. Like Nick Blake, he played every game. He plays a bit of key defence, he plays a bit of general defence. Overall, he rated as a general defender. 6th best in the competition. Slightly higher rated than last year. He had a good season, maybe lacks support throughout the rest of the field, but he did have a really good year. Callum Mills only played the 12 games, but while he was out there, he was very, very good in his role. 10th best general defender. If he had have played the full season, maybe those numbers and Sydney's success might have been slightly better, who knows. But he certainly was rated better than he was last year. Matt Roberts played 18 games, so most of the season. Pretty similarly rated to last year, very, very close to last year's rating. Riley Bice played 16 games, showed some really good signs. Rampy, he's more of your defensive defender, plays a bit of key defence as well at times, 21 games, rated pretty much the same as last year. Harry Cunningham, his rating slightly dropped. He hasn't shown enough to suggest that he's in their best 22, I don't think. Sam Wicks played 21 games this year. Once again, his rating not fantastic, pretty similar to last year. Ben Patton played 4 games. From what I saw, he needs a bit more work before he would be considered in the best team. He's okay, but he makes a few mistakes here and there. Certainly seems overpowered into the defence at times. Key defenders, they only had the 3 main ones. Obviously, a couple of those general defenders do take key posts at times. Tom McCartan played 20 games, actually rated higher than last year, so he did have a solid year without changing the game. Like he played well. Lewis Milliken played 17 games. Once again, slightly higher rated than last year, but not enough to be too excited about. And Joel Hamling played 14 games, pretty lowly rated from those 14 games. So the general forwards missed a few games between them. Not a huge amount, but I mean, Papley did. But Justin McInerney played 17 games, so most of the season. Ended up slightly higher rated than last year. Played a bit more forward than last year. He was a bit more outside mid. But solid numbers from him. He plays a variety of roles: outside mid, inside mid, general forward. Had a pretty good year though. Tom Papley played 11 games, left his best until the last game, had an absolute ripper over in the West against the Eagles. His season wasn't great though. I mean, he was had a lot of injuries. So not fantastic from him, but his last game was sensational. Will Hayward, I felt like his season wasn't great this year, but when you look at the ratings, he was actually pretty much almost the same as last year's rating. So maybe he wasn't down so much. Maybe it was more those around him. You look back to Sydney of 2024, they got a lot of goals from the midfield, and they probably missed out on that this year, so it was probably more noticeable that their forwards weren't contributing as much. Braden Campbell, pretty similarly rated to last year. Tom Hanley played 8 games, solid-ish numbers. Caden Cleary, similar rating to last year. Same with Corey Warner. Played a lot more football this year, Corey Warner. I'm not sure that he is in their best 22 or so, but we'll see going forward. Jesse Tatoli, only the 3 games, didn't see much of him. Key forwards, another area of a lot of injuries and a lot of concerns going forward. Hayden McLean played most of the season, 19 matches, slightly lower rated than last year. Joel Amati played just the 8 games, similar rating to last year, but they're just not putting up great numbers, these key forwards. Jack Buller, he showed some okay signs as a young key forward, 9 matches, low rated at the moment, but that's what you expect from a young key forward typically. Aaron Francis played the 10 games. His rating was similar to last year. That's about where he's at, I think, in all honesty. We'll move into the midfield. This is where all their star attractions are, let's be fair. Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner, both played every game. Heaney actually almost rated as high as last year, when he was the second best inside mid last year. 9th best this year. Still a fantastic season. He goes forward and can kick goals. He can damage you in the middle. He can damage you up forward. He can just pretty much do anything. Most of the season, you felt like he wasn't quite at the level of last year. He finished pretty strong, but he also did sprinkle in some really big games throughout the rest of the year as well. He was, and is one of the best midfielders in the competition, and did have a really good year. Chad Warner dropped off a little bit, 19th best inside mid, down to 32nd this season. Not a massive drop off by any stretch of the imagination, but just a little bit, which make of it what you will. It just probably was that drop off that hurt even more by the fact that no Goulden for most of the year. That 3-pronged midfielders last season obviously absolutely destroyed teams, whereas this year Heaney was probably the key one, with Warner as that one that had dropped off a little bit. Angus Sheldrick played the 20 games, 58th best inside mid in the comp this year. James Rowbottom, he dropped off a fair chunk as well, 10 rating points. Last year he was one of the best defensive midfielders in the competition, if not the best defensive midfielder in the competition. Tackled really well, can lock down players, can do it all. This year, his numbers weren't anywhere near as good. James Jordan is next up. He played every game as well. His rating, he was an outside mid last year, played a bit more inside mid this year. His numbers, pretty similar, not great. Taylor Adams just managed 4 games this year and didn't show much in those 4 games. So things not looking great for Taylor Adams this season. Outside mids, obviously we've mentioned Errol Goulden. He missed the first 13 games of the year, managed to come in for the last 10. Played a little bit more outside mid again this year, whereas last year he was starting to play a bit more inside mid, certainly in the back half of the year. But this year he was good. He showed why they were missing him immensely. He made a massive difference to this team. His rating not quite as good as last year, but as an outside mid, that's a very high rating. Jake Lloyd, he was 10th best last year, 15th best outside mid this year, so still pretty solid numbers. Just a little bit off the pace of last year, but not much. Oliver Florent plays a bit of general defender, bit of outside mid, bit of everywhere. He'd certainly moved up the ground a bit more this year than last year, and his rating dropped quite a bit. Outside mid is one of the harder places to score consistently, but his rating certainly wasn't as good as last year. And Caleb Mitchell just played the one game. We need to see more from him before we make too many judgments. Ruckman's Brody Grundy, absolutely outstanding season from him. He played all but one game, which he missed through concussion late in the season. He was ranked 9th last year. This year, he was the 3rd best ruckman in the competition. If you take out the first probably 4 or 5 weeks, he's probably the number 1 ranked ruckman, with Tristan Cherry and Max Gawn, the 2 above him. He was absolutely huge from about round 4 or 5. He had a 12-week stretch where he was almost an elite-ranked ruckman every single week of that period. He was absolutely huge this year. His best season since like 2018 when he was at Collingwood. It could have been All-Australian, obviously 3rd best in our rankings, but arguably could have been right in that conversation with Tristan Cherry and Max Gawn. Peter Ladham's 10 matches. Look, he's a backup ruckman. He's a backup key forward. That's about all we have to say about him. We'll move into the next little bit, which is our little position summary. Little bit of a word about this and explanation. So obviously here at All Aussie Rules, we do a rating system for every single game, for every single player, which puts a rating plus a position and whatnot on them. And then at the end of the season, top 10% of each position is rated as elite. 10 to 25% is top class. 25 to 40 is above average. 40 to 60% is average. Everyone below 60% is below average. And then, unranked people are anyone that played at least, didn't play at least 5 games of 50% game time or more. So as you can see, 6 elite players, so they have some really top-end talent. 0 top-class players, which is a concern, and 4 above average. So only 10 in the above average category and only 16 in average or better. So they're just missing those final links is what I feel from their season. They certainly have the top-end talent. There's absolutely no doubt about that. They have some okay middle range, like above average. It's those players going from below average to average is their big issue, I think. So you got general defenders, you're pretty covered there. 2 elite, 1 above average, and another in average. Pretty solid. Key defense is an issue, no doubt about it. Just the 1 in average or better. General forwards, I think they've got enough class there. Key forwards, they need work there as well. So their key defense, key forwards are their big 2 issues in my mind. Inside mids, they're absolutely stacked there. They've got Chad Warner, they've got Isaac Heaney, Errol Gordon if he goes there, or he could be outside mid as well. But midfield stocks, absolutely fine. Ruckman, they're fine. Brody Grundy's shown that he's in the best form of his career. So it's just the key forwards and key defence, I think, is their major issue. Getting more players from that below average or worse category into at least average, but probably at least 1 player into above average or better, would make a massive difference to this team. That's my thoughts on it, at least. Moving to the B&F, this is not the official best and fairest for Sydney. This is the All Aussie Rules best and fairest. So every single game, every single team, the top 5 players in the rating system get votes. The winning team gets 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. The losing team gets half of that, so 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So you win games, you get more votes, obviously. And this is how it shapes up after the season has finished. Brodie Grundy finishing in first with 102 votes. Isaac Heaney second with 85. Nick Blakey in third with 70. Chad Warner in fourth with 61. Then a big drop down to Errol Goulden, who obviously missed more than half the season, in fifth with 26. So he did have a really good 10 games that he played. James Rowbottom in sixth with 25. Justin McInerney in seventh with 24. Matt Roberts, 19 in eighth. Angus Sheldrick gets ninth place with 18. Riley Bice in 10th with 17 votes. Callum Mills, the captain, is in 11th with 16. Will Hayward in 12th with 14 votes. Jake Lloyd in 13th with 11 votes. Tom Papley 14th with 10 votes, which might have all been in that last game possibly. Tom McCartan in 15th with 7 votes. That's the top 15 in the best and fairest according to the All Aussie Rules rating system. That's pretty much everything we have for you on Sydney. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Jump in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of season 2025 for Sydney. Can they bounce back in 2026? I wouldn't be surprised to see them back in the top 8. I don't know if top 4 might be a stretch. We'll see. They'd certainly need their key forwards and key defence just to either play better or be more consistent or at least fitter, I guess. They've missed a few games from them this year, but that's basically the long and the short of it, I think. This is the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. This was Sydney Swans 2025 season review. I'll be back with another season review very soon. Next up is the Western Bulldogs. So come back, check that out. Appreciate you, and I'll catch you on the next one.